The United States is aggressing towards Venezuela as I speak, which can cause or is causing resentment in the Venezuelan president, as well as possibly the populace that is staying informed of the situation at hand. So currently we are being influential, and they are calling it colonizing in that territory, which is a sovereign territory. I took the liberty of looking it up, and apparently the causation is being, or at least perhaps maybe even a pretext, hopefully it's not a pretext, that it is due to fentanyl and crimes against humanity, as well as a weak economy. The weak economy is absolutely none of our business. That is very intrusive. The fentanyl, I looked that up. It appears that probably might be a situation, but nonetheless, it seems to be a pretext because we have not been speaking about Venezuela, and AI could be lying. It has lied before to me personally, and AI is saying that our biggest exporter of fentanyl to the United States is in fact Mexico, but we're not at war with Mexico. So it seems to be that this is a possible pretext, because there was no indication since the time that Mr. President was running for election to date. There's been no talk of Venezuela. Nobody was thinking about Venezuela. It just seems so random. So it appears to be the case that it is not good for Mr. President, being the most powerful man in the world, being the commander-in-chief of the United States. Surely I am in America. I am a naturally born United States American citizen, and so are my sons. So, of course, I'm going to think about the interests of my own homeland. If America does well, hopefully I also, by default, would do well also. So it seems as though it's not good for Mr. President to be undermined by himself or any of his dignitaries and humiliated with an ineffective result. We know that he is very results-oriented, and he is very timely. In fact, these are the things that he points out repetitively, his successes and his achievements throughout his service. So it seems as though for the best interests of Americans, in order to avoid humiliation and undermining our leader that is elected, it seems as though a very strategic way to perhaps get out of this and to do it in a way that is beneficial to everybody, including the party that indeed it seems like we may have harmed without provocation. It seems as though the Mr. President should be delivered a win. I can imagine that perhaps they've already thought about this, because it seems most advantageous moving forward. So that win could look like it has to be brought up by someone perhaps other than Mr. President. But then I suppose that he could bring it up. But I think it would look even better if someone else did, because that is not what he set out to do as commander-in-chief. He set out to aggress and go to war. So any other moving forward, any other course other than that should probably be brought up by someone who is under him, another dignitary of American soil. And I suppose these dignitaries could come up with a diplomatic gesture of offering to extend talks with the Venezuelan president. And during this situation, I can imagine that he may not want to talk at this time, but perhaps he would feel compelled, of course, because of the seriousness of the situation. Also, because of the situation, I would not personally trust, unfortunately, I have to be honest, I would not trust American government, and I would not step foot on this soil. I also would not disclose my location. So I think that it's perhaps very, it would seem like it would be really strategic for and a good faith gesture on the part of America to not request the current location of the Venezuelan president. I think that that would show good faith and diplomacy, because indeed the reason why he would not be disclosing his location is because it wouldn't make any sense, because we were about to go to war with one another. And while Americans have gotten used to pretending, not every culture is used to pretending and having two faces. So we were about to go to war with one another. So I think it would be a good faith effort and gesture to not insist on knowing his whereabouts at this time. And any meeting that would happen, I can imagine them being so powerful, it can be facilitated via online. And that online meeting, that should absolutely be structured in such a way that it is unhackable, and of course it is not subject to interruptions, etc., and leakages. That online meeting could be the place in which these two nations can come together, and the dignitaries below Mr. President, who is not Mr. President, can offer the idea that three of the most horrible criminals that have committed crimes against humanity on Venezuelan soil, or have sought to commit crimes against humanity on American soil, or who have done both, they can be offered to the United States government as a good faith gesture to fight against some of the grievances of Mr. President, whether they are pretext or not. I think this would be a very intelligent way to go about it, because while I offer that I am empathetic to the idea that a country might want to hold on to even their own criminals, because they are a sovereign country, a sovereign nation. I think it might be more expedient to do this gesture, because it puts Venezuela in a space where the whole world looks at Venezuela as noble in fighting against human trafficking and crimes against humanity. It helps the United States, but more importantly, Mr. President, to save face, whereas he is not the one that is extending the offer and the gesture. But later on in the process, it would seem that he would also look good. He would continue to look good, because later on in the process, he could come out and say, you know what, I accept this offer. And then it's a win, because the monetary and the legal processes, etc., is not necessarily on Venezuela. So it's just a win for both parties. And the only loss, as I stated before, is that Venezuela is, there is some demerit there, a little bit, because subtly, for those thinking, but many people don't even think that deeply, but for those who do think deeply, Venezuela is giving up its right to try those three people. And that is a loss, even though it's a loss that many people would not even see as such. You have to think really deeply in order to see that as a loss. A supreme country wants to do everything by itself, pretty much, in a nutshell. But what is the smartest thing to do at this time? And I think that that might be the smartest thing to do at this time. So this whole video is going to be extremely controversial. Very much so. And quite frankly, I'm just a mom, and I'm a little bit frustrated that I feel like I have to make these videos and put them out into the atmosphere, because the world seems to be falling apart, and it's not much I can do or whatever. It's not my job. My job is to bake cookies and stuff, but yet I have to, put this out into the atmosphere, hope that the remnant prays about it, hope that maybe you know some politicians and you can, put certain things in their ears that make sense, etc., etc. So without any further delay, let us continue with this very controversial video.
A group of people worship in a church, and then the scene changes. A preacher is on the phone with a worried look on his face. He realizes he has to make an awful decision. As he walks out of the room, he looks down at his hand that has a 666 marked on it. Not wanting anyone to find him out, he makes sure that he covers it again with a bandage-like material that is see-through. This material, once placed on his hand, completely hides his 666 mark from the congregation. As the congregants are worshiping, you see an old lady weeping as she is worshiping the Lord. When you zoom into her hands, which are held together in prayer as she stands in worship, you can see she has a 6666 mark on her hand. The scene changes, and the minister is talking with 2 CIA agents, and they leave his home. The next scene is disturbing, as a man is kneeling in prayer, sweat dripping from him as he earnestly prays to God for help. You can hear sirens in the background, and flashing lights are visible through his windows. It is evening, and the front door is kicked in. You can see the man try to calm his wife before 3 CIA agents grab him and drag him away from his home. A neighbor lady screams in horror. That is Pastor Daniels. That is Pastor Daniels. What are you doing? This can't be legal. Let him go. A thing that is half handsome man and half beautiful woman with evil red eyes sits alone in a luxurious executive office. This thing takes a church building miniature and places it on its head, and it transforms into a crown. The scene ends with the office going up in flames as the creature sits still, unfazed in its seat of power.
As a watcher, this is the latest that I feel as though I've been observing. It seems like the American church has decided to work in tandem with the great the dragon. Okay? And what that looks like, apparently what that seems to look like is that the church, because as I was reading the scriptures, and mind you, I'm not talking about today or even recently, but over the years, as I've been reading the scriptures, lately I've been pondering as to what exactly the church is doing at this time when the beast is doing everything he's doing. The beast is cutting people down. The beast is executing people who are resistant to him. And the Bible, in fact, says that he's going to wear the saints out. And I was thinking of all of what I've been seeing as a watcher and someone who pursues the truth no matter where the truth takes me and what it finally happens to be and the conclusions thereof, including any implications that may mean in the future, And it seems apparent that looking at just the wording to a simple, very simple extent, the wording is powerful and potent and important. It says the saints. I'll say it one more time. It says the saints. But what if you have people who are preaching and who are pastors and who are deacons and who are elders and who are worshipers and who are in the praise team and who are in the choir, etc.? And what if you have people who are church affiliated, Christ affiliated? What if you have this group of the populace and a majority of them consider themselves Christian, but what if that was not the case? Because I've been wondering, I've been pondering on the scriptures, and I believe that it says exactly what it means, and it means exactly what it says. It says the saints. It also says that there's going to be, like, for example, two women standing, one woman would be taken at a certain point, the other left. And that can only be the case if one person is not, if there's a distinctive difference between the two. And so to take it further, I've been thinking about the things that I have experienced, the things I've seen amongst the populace, amongst the national, international, populace, as much as I can see that, because I don't travel, but I do have eyes, I do have ears, but I concur, that not concur, but like I admit that I do not travel. So it is limited in scope. But all of the culminated, and I realized that does not give me a 100% guaranteed grasp on all things in regards to watching and keeping abreast of a knowledgeable take on what is happening, so as I can approach situations in life itself with godly wisdom and intelligence. And I have to come to the conclusion that at least what it appears to be is that there is a huge segment of the populace in Christianity. Of course, I'm not going to really be focusing much on the heathens, but in Christianity, people, many people who are claiming Christianity, but they may not in fact be Christians. And here's the thing that is making that it profoundly worse, right? Because you might be like, okay, well, maybe you just are antisocial. Maybe you're poor, which I am poor, but maybe you're bitter, antisocial. Maybe you're a woman scorned, or maybe you just don't like your lot in life, or maybe you're just disgruntled, or maybe you just want attention, or maybe you're even lying. Maybe you just hate God and you are just like a plant working for the devil, and we can't trust you because, maybe you're just not even who you say you are, maybe you're trying to lead us away from Jesus or something like that. And I assure you that's not, but I don't expect you to trust me. Just whatever the Lord tells you to do, you do that. But I'm saying this because I am a watcher, and I feel compelled to say it because I would be wrong if I didn't. But people always look at heathens being a problem when they make these religious movies, when they make these Christian movies, these end of the world apocalyptical movies, where you have to hide your hand being naked, not having a 666, where you have to hide in buildings, where you have to conceal your Christian identity, you have to steal some Bibles, and they make it where it's heathens, and then there's not heathens. And there's only one movie where I saw where there were some infiltrators. There were people, but even then, they didn't really hide. They didn't hide that they were not Christian. So the problem here, I feel, is, and I'm not pretending to be prophesying. I'm not pretending to have the answers for everything. But I don't know about you, but I consider that we have a very real problem that nobody is addressing. And the elephant in the room that no one is addressing is how many people and how much harm can be done to the remnant by people, by preachers, by prophets, by prophetesses, by a false unity, when these people are not required according to God Himself. They're not for Him. Not all of them, but the ones who are for Him, the remnant, are for Him. The ones who are not for Him, which are people who are falling away, people who never were with Him in the first place, people who are compromised severely. So, that is very dangerous in a situation in which it seems nobody is addressing it at all. See, and it's funny because it's like, it's weird. It's so strange because, no doubt, some would say that perhaps people like me are the problem, except I'm not the one getting you fired. I'm not the one calling CPS on you. I'm not the one spreading rumors about you. I'm not the one that is trying to turn you homosexual or sexually harass you as a lesbian. It's not me. People who wear a cross around their neck and do all these things, they are the problem. And I don't even mean to be talking, frankly, I'm not even sure I'm talking, sometimes, I feel God is going to rock everyone's world in 2026. I don't know that for sure, but I have a feeling he might. And what that might that look like, teaching us things that maybe, and I'm talking about us who know, us who are well read, well studied, but teaching us things that we could have never imagined about the world, about the faith, about other people, just teaching us, drawing us in. And by us, I mean the true remnant. Because I don't know why 2025 is ending this way, in which I am truly concerned, and I do believe in faith, but I don't believe that the remnant, because sometimes I truly believe that is just fake Christians' way to shut people up when they're getting too close on a scent, on a trail. Okay? But I figure this, and I realize I'm struggling, and trust me, there's no one more frustrated at the eloquence that I lack in this regard. Because I feel like something has to be said, but the only person, it's a trip that something needs to be said, but the only person that is actually saying it is not terribly eloquent. Isn't that crazy? But the Lord works in mysterious ways. He truly does. But nonetheless, it seems like, because, and why is that the case? Well, I don't suggest that, and now I'll just say, like, I don't suggest that anybody, and this is going to be very minute, because most people will try to avoid living in the projects, period. Most people, in fact, don't live in the projects. Don't know a number. I've never bothered to be that interested in poverty to look it up, especially being poor. I've never been that fascinated by poverty to actually study it. Nonetheless, I don't have a number of the population of the United States that actually lives in the projects versus the population of the United States that does not live in the projects. But nonetheless, as far as like my apartments, Benham Park Apartments, Washington, D.C., Southeast D.C., I don't think anyone, if the Lord doesn't send you, don't come. Don't come, because you have a situation in which we know we don't have from it, at least the remnant doesn't have from this fact. We're aware that really bizarre things have been taking place. And how horrible is it when you're living, and in some cases you're thriving, in some contexts, in some cases, but you're living in a situation in which, like, as I said, a lot of things that seem to be taking place, it's almost like living a lie, because anyone who would speak on it is kind of shunned or silenced. And so the idea is that people should continue on in perseverance, which is good anyway. One would need to do that anyway, at least the remnant. But in perseverance in the faith, in life, and in many cases continuing on in abuses, continuing on in persecutions, continuing on in resisting attacks and experiencing attacks. Why would I tell you to move into a place where you may not be able to use all of your amenities, for example? Why would I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm saying, why would I tell you to do that as a sister in Christ? Why would I lead you there? That's why I said, if God doesn't send you here, why would you come? Because unlike some, because I'm not working for the devil, why would I lead you into a place where you would not necessarily thrive, unless the Lord, of course, led you there, here. But if you, for example, you can't use all of the amenities, or you live beside a park and years go by and your children are not able to use that park. You literally watch your children grow up without playing, for example. And can you imagine a populace that would be privy to such things and would call themselves Christian? And they not only would consent to such things, but they would rejoice at such things. And can you not conclude that perhaps the beast system, which this video is broaching as a great possibility, the beast system and the American church are as one? They are married to one another and they will not be separated. There are situations in which individual churches, at this point, I'm going to go as far as saying it is a individual by individual church thing. But as an entity, it appears to be, and I know what I'm saying is extremely controversial, but it appears to be that they need to be treated as one. They're moving as one. They are more in cohesion and more unity. They have a spiritual connection to one another. They are more in love with one another. They work hand in hand. It's like a entity. If the church moves, the dragon moves. And if the dragon moves, the American church moves. And they cannot be separated. And only on an individual pastor basis, meaning no longer can you say, well, the American church resists the dragon. No. Why would the American church resist her husband in any way? Why would she do that? Why would she resist the one who she truly has allegiance to, who she is turning over her members to, reporting her members to, who she is praying witchcraft prayers against? Can you imagine going to a church where the church prays for you to get sick? Can you imagine going to a church where the church prays you don't get the job? Can you imagine going to a church where the church prays that you never come out of the building, the apartment building, where your children have never been able to use the playground? They did not have a childhood in that context. And because the Bible says love grows cold, but when it happens, and that's the thing, I think the trauma here's what it seems to be. Part of it is that we're dealing with, when we say something that is truly tragic, when we say something that is truly has veracity to it, we can prove it. When these two things occur and you get an entirely inappropriate response, you get a jesting response, you get a mocking response, you get no response at all. When that occurs, you are either dealing with trauma or you are dealing with an enemy. This is one who was in concert, moving towards not moving with you. That's why I said, but I think also for these, I think it's going to become quite apparent that in the American church, the remnant is going to start to look like what it reads in the Bible, because the Bible does not read, and I do not pretend to have 100% on this, but I'm going to go with my gut because it's the only thing that makes sense, unless the Holy Spirit teaches me otherwise. But the Bible reads as though the remnant is sprinkled. And in any case where you have something that is sprinkled, that means the majority is the majority, and the remnant is anything but a majority. So that means that inside of the American church entity, there is a sprinkling of individual pastors, individual prophets, and individual preachers who would never pray for an innocent person to die and get sick, because they're not demented like that. They actually love Christ, and they're not devil worshipers. But that means you have a greater majority, if I am correct, which I might not be, but if I'm correct, it means that everything starts to pull together, and it starts to make more sense, because I can totally imagine it would make sense in that case where a church that was already compromised by sin becomes offended that you have not sent your child to the same school, where every girl in that school keeps getting pregnant and none of them are married, where half of them, as we see happening more and more often, half of them are in the church choir, and all of them are pregnant and none of them are married. And you start to see situations in which things are happening, crisis level things, life-changing, irreversible things happening. And I don't have all day, and I know you don't either, but I could list a billion things, but I'm going to give you credit that for those of you who hate this message, well, I'm going to give you credit that you probably are the dragon. For those of you who love it, I'm going to give you credit that you are extremely intelligent. For example, I don't see how you cannot be and be part of the remnant these days. One of my theory is, with all of what is coming against you, you're one of the only ones. You have to be intelligent to make the intelligent choice. After all, the Holy Spirit is the spirit of intelligence. Okay, so and then offense comes, and then offense, etc. Every little door, and I know I'm struggling, and I don't know why. Like I truly, I'm being genuine when I say I don't know why the Lord seems to reveal such things to someone who struggles to speak so badly. Right? But nonetheless, it does not, just because I lack eloquence doesn't mean it's not true and powerful. And so you have a situation in which you have this, the thing with it is, in life, there are tons of ways that someone can become offended. But back in the day, a normal person will get over it or approach you or something. But nowadays, they hold a grudge. And when the enemy knows when that crack comes in and they have an opportunity to report you for just about anything, to withhold a piece of mail that they know you truly need. Okay? I remember when I got a piece of mail, and I'm not wishing for this to happen because I'm quite frankly not trying to hold other people's mail. Because I felt that was like a harassment at some point because it got that bad, you know. The enemy just wanted to steal my peace by trying to make me the mail person. And I'm an extremely busy single mom. Nonetheless, I had a piece of mail, and it was a possibility this piece of mail was a really important piece of mail for a neighbor. And honestly, and hopefully she doesn't hear this, but nonetheless, I don't like her. I never have. I've been cordial, but I don't like her. But I could see she hasn't ever really done anything bad to me. And so I wanted her to have, I made sure to the best of my ability that piece of mail would get back to her. Now, I don't know 100% that it did, but it seemed to be really great news. And quite frankly, I was hoping I would get, really great news. But nonetheless, I didn't hate her because, I'm Christian. I'm a real Christian. So I did my best. Now, I don't know guaranteed, but I didn't do anything that would stop her from getting that wonderful news. If it was wonderful news, of course I did not open her mail, but nonetheless, it's stuff like this might seem small, but stuff like this is life changing. If it has to do with where you live, if it has to do with a case with CPS, if it has to do with whether or not you could keep the family dog, if it has to do with someone sabotaging your job, and if they move in power, yes, demonic power, if it has to do with them praying that you get sick and rather than praying that you get better. And so, in the church, many times the church makes fun of that, and that's silly. It's silly. I'm not saying it's silly to not believe in God. I'm saying it's silly to say something cannot be harmful. Well, in that case, if I drank a thing of bleach, I'm sure the Lord could save me, but I do not advise it. I do not advise it, because if he does not, it's going to be lethal. Well, the same thing for if you don't take the course of wisdom and decide not to go to the church that has all the markings of a church, but they would rather pray that you be sick than that you be better. Okay? So which one should you go to in wisdom? Now, some things you go through in life because you go through it in life and the Lord is with you. But in other things, it is that you did not seek wisdom. You did not make the right choice. You had the information. Sometimes you don't have the information. God is not going to punish you for information that he does not give you. But that information that he gives you, he expects you to use it with wisdom. Okay, so if he's telling you, hey, this church right here, go to this church, but don't go to this church right here, because if you get cancer, they're going to pray that it gets 10 times worse, because they're a bunch of witches. Okay? Like, don't go to this one right here, because they're gonna pray that you never get out the ghetto ever. Never mind that your children haven't been able to play in the last 5 years. And love can grow. Any normal person would pity that. But love is grown cold. And it's not real if you have to tell them, oh, this is, because you could be talking to a demon. Because typically humans have human emotions. You could be speaking to a demon. If you have to tell a demon, okay, this is your cue to actually make a sad face, then, I mean, are you serious? That's not even how you do a relationship. You might as well date a cyborg then. If you have to tell them, okay, this is when you cry. This is when you smile. Are you serious? I mean, really. And I don't even think, remnant, matter of fact, I'm not even talking to you most of this. You could just sit and listen. For most of this, you're just sitting and listening so that you can know information, be empowered with information, so that you can move wisely. Okay? Because I'm not talking to you because you're not the ones doing this. You're not. Okay? But nonetheless, I would not put a loved one somewhere where I knew that, all these things are available, but not to you and not to your children. And I just hope, for the sake of those who wear crosses and the whore church of America who wear crosses and speak in tongues and do their prophesying and all that stuff and everything like that, and do their fasting and their revival things and stuff like that. I just sure hope that Jesus is in on all of it. What do I mean by that? Like, I hope he is, because I feel like if it all has to be a secret and nobody know about it, I hope that Jesus is in on the surprise. Like, when it's time for everybody to be like, surprise, I hope that Jesus is the first one to jump out and be like, I know, right? Like, your kids didn't get to utilize the amenities and everything, but for like the last 10 years, but oh my goodness, like, I just wanted you to, like, I wanted to be the first one to surprise you and be like, wasn't that funny? Like, wasn't that like the best joke ever? Like, yeah. So anyway, I mean, because surely any exploit that the religious church does, surely Jesus sent them on that mission to complete that assignment. I mean, because surely they would not go on their own and oppress their brothers and sisters in the Lord, right? But of course it seems like this. Be mindful, y'all. I want to do this strategically because I don't know how much time I have. But be mindful, remnant and everybody else. I'm just talking because you're not. How do I say it? I'm not eloquent, so I'm just gonna say it how I say. You are the enemy. So for you, this, I guess, is entertainment, or you might actually repent. Nonetheless, the remnant is the remnant and the enemy is the enemy. Okay, there you go. Nonetheless, it seems like your pastors and your prophets and your clergy and your elders seem to be inadequate. If it's not altogether inadequacy, because the Bible does say that the saints should never, the patience and the faith of the saints, the remnant should never be, and I would never categorize or make the main descriptor of the remnant inadequate. I consider that a gross slur against the remnant. But I am not speaking of the remnant. I'm speaking of the religious sect, SECT, the religious sect that is married to the system. They are married to the government. They are married to the dragon, it seems. It seems. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm taking a great risk. I'm doing this, even saying you may not want to move, because the government has a lot of influence over projects in general. I may not even know the full scope, but nonetheless, seems like my apartment complex specifically could possibly be a great stronghold. Like, seriously, it's been a lot of spiritual battles. And quite frankly, it seems as though, let's go back to, because so I can stay on point and so that y'all don't get lost with how I speak. So of course I'm not describing the remnant as inadequate, but anyone who genuinely is looking for the Lord, anyone who is genuine, you're not going to get necessarily the type of fellowship that you truly need from any church that is connected to the dragon, that is married to the dragon. And many seem to be. Okay? So what would that look like? Well, you definitely don't want the intercessory team to be praying to someone else who is not Jesus and be praying prayers that are highly inappropriate. Are there times where the Lord can call down? For example, some preachers have made the mistake of saying that God cannot have wrath in the New Testament. Well, Ananias and Sapphira were in the New Testament. And if that wasn't the wrath of God, I don't know what was. Okay. And I believe, did Judas die before or after Jesus? I don't even need that as an example. Because Ananias and Sapphira were far after the death of Jesus. And they are a much better example because they can easily be identified as having died after the new covenant has been established. Okay? So there are instances where the Lord, of course, being God, I cannot disallow God and no one else, regardless of what these fakes preach and teach, can disallow God his right to be angry. And furthermore, to be angry and actually do something about it concerning anything or anyone. I feel as though to try to have such sentiment is blasphemous. However, I also to further along, so I give, I concur, like I offer that yes, there are times where rebuke and chastisement, but that's typically not it's typically looking quite normal, kind of like what I'm doing. But I'm not calling death on anybody, quite ironically, and I'm not praying for anybody to get cancer. But nonetheless, you have that situation where, yes, I offer that can happen. In the prophetic, I can imagine that there has to be at least one person out there in the last 10 years. Maybe it's not even that frequently, because no one knows better the grace and mercy of God than I do. And perhaps the prophetic, absolutely, God can strike someone down by, you will not wake up tomorrow, and the Lord keep it, because guess what? It wasn't really even the prophet or the prophetess who said it. It was God. And can God do that? I believe absolutely he can. I believe it's very rare, but I believe he can. But do I believe that God is establishing in the new covenant entire churches where people who don't hardly even halfway know you can be praying for you to not get the job, so that you and your babies can move somewhere where they actually can play without pit bulls chasing them down, etc., etc. For people praying that you get cancer, for people praying that you never get a job, ever, that you stay on welfare. And then the same people post online that you need to pull yourself up by your... It's very demented. What God is Jesus. We read that Jesus went around casting out devils and healing the sick. He was like, come unto me, all ye who are burdened and heavy laden. And then when he had to leave, he sent the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, called the Comforter. Okay, so what God established entire churches, prophetic ministries, prophetess ministries, entire church buildings where you go in and you pray, people try to like give you devils, and they try to give you cancer, and they pray that you never get the job you're trying to get. But I'm like, and who in their right mind would keep going? I feel like quite frankly, who would keep going to that? They already, every time you have a prayer request, they were trying to pray the opposite of whatever you pray. That sounds like the devil, because if you read, they're claiming they're moving by the faith of Jesus, and they're doing whatever they're doing for the weird stuff that they're doing, because they're doing weird stuff. There's no doubt about that. And all the weird that they're serving you, they're doing it in Jesus' name. But Jesus didn't do anything like that stuff. He literally didn't. And look, and when Jesus did have a problem, he confronted it head on. So you knew, this is your problem, Pharisees. You were whitewashed tombs. You are frauds. You oppress the people. He flipped over the tables. He was like, you man over there by the pool. What do you want me to do? Do you want to be healed? Okay. Talk about the woman. I offer life, and more abundantly, rivers of water that will never, ever, ever go away. Do you want that? And then they have this conversation. It wasn't like, you come to Jesus and you think you're getting one thing and you walk away with something else. Like, oh, here, like, let me pray for you. And you're like, yeah, I'm struggling. I really would like this job, but I know it has to be the Lord's will and everything. And I want my babies to be able to play and everything like that. And then they pray, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, yeah. So come on, let me lay my hands on you. All right. Lord, no, like, please, no. She doesn't need no job. She doesn't need this job. Okay, just let her stay on the welfare. And Lord, no. Okay, Lord, her children don't need to play. Matter of fact, like, please, like, don't ever let them play, ever. Okay, be like Michael Jackson. They will never get to play ever again. Okay, they'll be grown and they'll be like, what is play? What is that? Like, what are swings? What are slides? Like, oh, like, walk the something simple is okay. And then this thing, I'm trying to tell you, they're trying to like put stuff out in code. So the whore church and her husband, the dragon. Okay. Because you can't talk about one of them without talking about the other. They will be very offended because they love each other very deeply. Okay. They put out like this code. I don't know if you heard it. Like, you will own nothing and you'll be happy about it. And when they said that, that's exactly what they meant. Okay. And I'm like, here's the thing though. You might walk away from that like what was that? And if you're normal, that's exactly like, what was that? Like, because that's like, you're trying to figure out, like, Jesus didn't do stuff. Jesus never said he was going to do one thing and then gave you something else. But this is the modern church who has sat herself, the dragon, has sat the modern church of America upon his head, and it is as his crown. They're interconnected. They love each other very deeply. And I do not believe no amount of preaching. I'm going to say, and I give a lot on the prophets, not like they're gods, please. Like, no. And the remnant would not. Look, no real remnant prophet would even allow you to speak in such a way. But the real ones do move in authority and power. And so do some certain real, the real, Christians, remnant. But nonetheless, okay. I forgot what I was going to say. Nonetheless, like, it's going to be, I hope this uploads. But my point is, I got to wrap this up because I want at least hope that it uploads. But the problem here, I'm sorry, I have to belch. is, so like the two are interconnected, and oh my goodness, I wonder if it's an attack. I don't think it's an attack. I just think it might be, and I don't realize it. Maybe I need to pray that the Lord will help me with my words. But nonetheless, I believe that the dragon is possibly using his whore wife, the whore church of America, because of how effective she is, how useful she is, how effective and useful she is. Here's some things that I have seen, and I wonder if some of you have seen it, remnant. Okay, so it seems to be like an infectious, contagious disease. And it seems to have started in the United States of America. The 2020 virus was one of them, in which the virus I had claimed in previous videos is a virus in which people want to do harm to other people in a way that they feel compelled and they cannot hardly be stopped. And that is the real reason why they wanted us inside. Because they knew. And the proof of that is that as soon as everyone was free, now people are getting set on fire on buses. And the church's job, not the church, the remnant church, but the whore church of America, her job was to not talk about the apocalypse and to make you act as though you're not seeing what you're seeing and make you not talk about it. Her job was to belittle everything that's happening around you. So you will feel, you will be silenced and not speak about it, because if you speak about it, it makes it more real. And if it makes it more real, then you're going to be looking to her like, why are you not doing something about this? And, in that case, she wanted, she wants, what do you call it? Now, I'll go there with you. You would think if she wanted violence, she would want, everybody to be released, which everybody is now. Okay, I'll go there with you. Except that she also loves drama. She's a drama whore. She's the whore church of America is a drama whore. She is a attention whore. And she is a murderer. And she murders people's destinies. She murders people's faith, and she is a character assassinator, and she's a great liar. She's a great liar. And so in that instance, she just was enjoying, it seems, lying. So she didn't necessarily get all of the violence that she loves out, because it was really fun to just lie to your face and make you think that the 2020 virus was something normal when it absolutely was not. Anytime you have to make the whole world go inside their homes so they won't kill each other and slit each other's throats, that's not normal. But the whore church, rather than preaching to you about the desire to kill somebody for no reason and slash somebody's throat and to character assassinate them and to cancel them, rather than do that like any decent real minister would do, like, I don't know, Jesus did, who she is falsely associating herself with, they don't know each other. She is with the dragon. Rather than do that, because she is a fraud, she has to set your attention on something else. So you cannot even talk about the 2020 virus. You can't talk about the things that are going on, because she's not going to give you the biblical solution. Jesus went around casting out devils and healing the sick and restoring peace and bringing peace where he can go. You won't see her in future days. I'm gonna predict you won't see this. You won't see these things, because that is not why she is here. This whore just wants to be, she just wants to be comfortable. She just wants to suckle on the economic teat of all of her tithers. And I believe in tithing, by the way. But she wants to suckle on the teat and continue to live on the tithes and the offerings, and she wants the attention and the millions and billions of followers on the internet and stuff, and she wants to be comfortable, and she wants the applause and the praise and all that, but she don't really, no, it's just for show. It's a show. It's a facade. She's a fraud, okay? It is what it is. And this is very contagious, because it seems like a tormenting spirit that is jumping from, it started with the 2020 virus, and now it jumps to the war in what do you call it? The war between Russia and that other place. And initially it started in America. America instigated that war, because the whore church wanted that, because she don't have nothing else better to do. The whore doesn't have anything. Jezebel's just sitting around making skirmishes and stuff like that and starting wars. That's what whore goddesses do. And this American whore church will not fail to continue on doing what she does best. This is what she does. So for sure enough, because it's contagious and it jumps to place, because it needs blood. It needs death. People have to die. She's not going to rebuke it. She's not trying to rebuke it. She's not trying to get rid of it. She's trying to profit off of it. She's trying to hear her own voice, because she loves the sound of her own voice. And this whore is like, I'm not that good. I think they get off on it. After all, I think they get off on it, the men and the women. People are really sick. And that's why I try not to give people fodder, because you never know what gets someone off. And I think wars get some people off. I truly do. I truly do. Some of these people, old people, middle age people, and some young people, unfortunately. How can you be that screwed up and that young is really sad. But I think it spans the whole age group. Because when you're messed up, you're really messed up, regardless of how young or old you are. Okay, you're really messed up. So I think some people just get off, like legit get off on war. Okay. So the whore goddess, the whore church of America, she started the 2020 thing, and she needs Fauci. She needs Fauci and some of your greatest, and I'm not saying that some remnant might not be sprinkled in there. You know, after all, we have a right. The remnant, like anybody else, has the right to follow their conscience, you know. But sure enough, with no doubt in my mind, that some of the greatest generals of the Jezebelian whore goddess, whore church of America, that is married to the dragon, and they love each other very deeply, okay? And this is just the honeymoon period. You know, as things progress, we're going to get deeper into the beast system, you know, as the marriage progresses between the two. By the way, like, the Bible never said that the church would not help the beast. The Bible said the saints will not help the beast. And I admonish you, brothers and sisters of the remnant who are true, don't you ever make someone make you feel bad for actually looking at the language. Because language can be the difference between life and death. And God said, choose life. So yes, it is not the churches and those who associate themselves with the churches and those who are the prophets and the preachers and blah, 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 go down the list. And the elders and the deacons and the Mother Mary and Mother Jessica and all this. No, it's the saints. Guess what a saint is not? A saint is not a lying, backstabbing, treacherous, devil worshiping, devil praying to witch or warlock. If you are a lawyer as well as a remnant, you should understand better than anybody. Language is key. Make sure you pay attention to the language. Okay? The saints would never do something like that. But there's plenty of ain'ts wearing crosses and standing in pulpits and ministering. And they totally are doing it and will continue, and they will do and they will do worse in the future according to the Bible. I just hope that it's not you, because you did not see that you should hide yourself from them, that you should avoid them, that you should not invite them to the family picnic no more. You know, you speak very freely, which is normal, and you have a right to. But as soon as they get the opportunity, they will slit your throat while wearing a cross. It is up to you to move wisely these days. So, is there anything else I want to say? So it went from the 2020 virus to then the 2020 virus to the war between Zelensky and Russia. Now it's jumping to it jumped to Israel. It's jumping from your inadequate preachers, because this is not a problem necessarily. I don't think it's a problem with the remnant, but I think it is a problem with the ain'ts. Your ain'ts are inadequate. Stop going to them. Unless there's just no one else, and look, if you're going to keep going to your inadequate, and I'm not going to stop saying it because it's true. If you're not going to stop going to your inadequate church that sometimes tries to sabotage your whole life, okay, in the name of Jesus, because clearly they're connected to the whore, to the dragon, they're serving the beast already. And one of the things it started with is when they got that tax thing. And part of their taxes is they can't say or preach certain things. The government, the dragon, controls their mouths and controls what they say and controls the messages and pulpits and stuff like that. And that should have told you. That should have told y'all. Y'all better wake up. So all I'm saying is this, because is it wrong? Are you wrong? Because clearly, I'll go deep. Let's go deep. Because this channel don't mind going deep. Let's go deep. You want to go deep? Let's go. Because I'll go right there with you. Hannah was blessed in the presence and by the mouth of Eli. And God was sick of Eli. So if that's not deep, I don't know what to tell you. It is. So if you want to go to the church with your inadequate ministry staff and your inadequate peers who are all compromised, maybe there's a couple of babies that have not yet reached the age of majority, and when they go to church, because they don't know how evil their parents are yet, sadly, and they haven't been contaminated yet, but they will be. If God doesn't step in and do a miracle, they will be. And what I'm saying is that people want to get false pious and try to punish my channel for saying such things, especially in regards to children. I'm not, number one, I'm not the one doing it. And number two, it is happening. And that's why I said it is this whore's job to silence anyone who makes people think, because she is not being effective. You are not wrong necessarily for attending that church like Hannah. You may even, and let's go deeper. I'll go deeper with you because I'm not afraid. Let's go deeper. You may even get prayers answered, because when you pray, even though you sitting amongst sodomites, whores, liars, false witnesses, you sitting amongst all this, but you are genuine, God is not going to fail to meet. Matter of fact, he came there with you. But when you leave there, he's leaving there too. Because you're the reason why he's there. Like Hannah. You think that God was with Eli's sons? They were the reason why he was pissed. You think that God was sitting with Eli? God himself, he showed up for Hannah. That's crazy. They're not preaching stuff like this. I'm trying to tell y'all, brothers and sisters, they not, because they inadequate. They don't. What can I say? I don't know how many ways I gotta say that they not adequate, because they're not. Okay. And God showed up in that temple for Hannah. He wasn't showing up for them whoring boys, disrespecting his sanctuary. He wasn't showing up for Eli. He showed up for Hannah. And he will do the same for you. But let me tell you something, because it's not the devil speaking. And you know this whore, she swear up and down and all around. It is, because she don't want you to really get right knowledge. Because she want you to not have knowledge. Because knowledge is power. And she don't want you to have no power. She wants to have all the power. That's why she's starting all these wars. Okay? God will show up for you, but don't you fail to know, because this is real love. This is real love. When someone spits the truth to you, that's love. This whore dragon loving whore is not giving you love. She barely giving you adequate preaching. And I'm like, look, don't you fail to know that just because you got a miracle in that place, that it's because you went there. I'm going to say it again, because it need to be said. Don't you fail to think that it was because you are planted in the right place. In a good place. Maybe not in the right place. In a good place. That's why God showed up. Frankly, it was right. Let me correct myself. It was right that Hannah was in the right place. She could not go serve in the temple. But let me tell you something else. She didn't participate in the shenanigans. And guess what? I'm going to tell you something, because we getting real deep now. God did show up just for her. Just for her. Because the rest of the place was in a state of judgment. and didn't even know it. They were in a state of judgment, and God blessed her in the midst of it, out the mouth of one of the ones being judged. So don't you ever think that just because you experience a miracle, that there ain't judgment going on around you. You don't even necessarily have to know, because everything ain't our business. That's right. God has a thing sometimes called privacy. He told her little boy. He didn't tell Hannah. Go figure. And look, somebody say that's out of bounds. God can do whatever he wants. If he want to tell a little boy our business, he can. But he didn't tell Hannah. As far as Hannah knows, everything holy. But that is not the case. We have the inside scoop. Hannah maybe did not. So don't you go thinking, because that's very dangerous. You go someplace thinking that everybody is carrying the anointing. You going someplace thinking everybody's holy because you're holy. Do not be naive. You go somewhere because they wearing suits and like and all that and stuff. Because they dancing around and clapping and you thinking that everybody holy. You thinking everybody sanctified around you. You assuming that the pastor is. You assuming that the people, voice is beautiful as I don't know what, aren't gay on the choir, sleeping with the same sex at night, and then coming to church in the morning and singing in the choir. Don't you ever assume. I keep telling y'all, I'm not mad at you. I'm not. I'm telling you because I care about your soul. Don't you ever assume anything, good or bad, going up in any place. Hannah didn't know. God gave the little boy the scoop. The what's going on. The tea. God spilled all the little tea to little Samuel. But little Samuel happened, and at that blessing started in a place that wasn't even blessed. Meaning the blessing, God will have a blessing follow you as you're doing what you're supposed to do. And sometimes, yeah, he'll have you go somewhere and that place ain't blessed. But he'll bless you because he told you to go. He'll bless you specifically. But don't you ever assume that you need to be sharing all your business with everybody there because they sanctified. Because he tell you to go somewhere don't mean he told you to do that. Don't you go and say, oh, let me introduce my daughter to the pastor's son. What he didn't tell, he just said go for fellowship. He didn't say do that all that. Because guess what happened if they did that? They were whoring around. God is, people make God like he don't think. God is unless he tells you something for a purpose that does not make sense, typically God makes sense. He typically makes sense. You don't add nothing to it. You don't take nothing away from what he told you to do. And all he told Hannah to do was worship, give her offering. That's it. And that's all she did. And she got her blessing. In a place that wasn't blessed. A place that was under judgment. And this, why am I saying this? Is it tied into this? Because I'm trying to tell you that this is what they're doing. And it sounds insane because it is. And you do not need to. Yeah, it is good looking out. It's a thank you, sis. When someone tell you, if God don't send you over there, don't go. You don't want years to go where you living by a playground you can't use. They don't want you to use it. It's that bad. Living with amenities, what good, brethren, is amenities you can't use? What good is it to you? What good is it's the same thing back in Moses' time. Back in Moses' time, what good is a well you cannot drink from? Because the inhabitants won't let you. Am I speaking too frankly? But people won't, and it needs to be more adequate remnant preachers that actually preach what's happening in reality and what God says about any such thing. It's called telling the truth. Like, I mean, seriously, these inadequate, unless God tells you to go there, or there's no adequate ministers, because I know sometimes there might not be no adequate churches around you, okay? And so you stuck with, like Hannah, you stuck with an inadequate church. And if that is the case, yes, like Hannah, God can bless you at that inadequate church because you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? But it is, and y'all are welcome. Y'all are welcome. Most people ain't checking for the projects anyway. But for those of you who, because the remnant, we know the remnant is a vast array of economics in the remnant. We are all one in Christ. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ. From those who are on the street, literally, to those who are rich. Yet we all are brothers and sisters. Okay? The real ones. Us remnant. Okay? And only we can really do that because they can't pull that off because they're fake. Okay? Once anything costs them anything, we know. And that's why I'm warning y'all up on here. Because whether it be by weakness or whether it be by just malice or a combination of the two, it's not good. It's an appropriate way to handle an offense. But you know who's going to be offended much more quickly at you? The one who is the dragon, the whore that is married to the dragon. Anytime you do anything that offends the dragon, you offend the wife, the church whore. The church whore goddess. They are as one. So unless the Lord tells you, you really need to consider where you are, who's ministering to you, who's praying for you, you know. You know. And yes, exactly. I won't back down from that. Exactly. And where you move, etc., etc. And in certain cases, if it's the Lord's will, it's the Lord's will. But in most cases, it's better for children to be able to play. My goodness, for situations in which they don't, because they can't. So it's not just like overseas. It's not just overseas. That's a lie. And that's another lie that the whore church wants you to believe. Because she don't care. Okay? And many times she's the cause. She is the cause. Remember, and don't lose sight. It's not hatred. It's not hatred to know that devils many times possess the bodies of humans. That's how they are able to get more things accomplished. It is a hard truth. It is a sad truth. But it is the truth nonetheless. It is people who shoot persistently into a playground anytime a family or something like that, a church, a family or something like that, that has the mannerisms, characteristics of one that might have faith. And only a demon could discern something like that. It's not normal for a human. Am I speaking too frankly? Am I speaking too plainly, matter-of-factly? Only a demon can discern something like that. Like, hey, go around the corner and do this at this exact time. Because a family of faith is going to show up. And then if that happens enough times, I promise you, you will stop going. Well, what is that? Once again, in the movie The Ten Commandments, for those who saw that movie, before Moses showed up, those girls could barely get water. Now, here's the thing. If that persists, what happens? Am I speaking too plainly? Once again, you can have everything in the world, but if you can't utilize it, what good is it to you? Am I speaking too frankly? You can have a pull. Let's say there's a husband and he is an evil, wicked husband. Or maybe let's say a wife. Let's say there's a wife and she's an evil, wicked wife. And for some strange reason, she's got married. And she has a pool, but her husband can't use the pool. And she has a car. Well, actually, she has 3 cars, and her husband can't use any of them. And she has horses, and her husband cannot ride any of the horses. And she has a garden, and her husband, when he prepares food, matter of fact, she keeps the food separate. And this may sound extreme, but I want you to, I know only the remnant really have a stomach for this truly. The whore hates every word I'm saying. And I want you, brothers and sisters, to listen, because I want you to listen and feel. Because this is I don't know everything. I'm learning and I'm studying. I'm watching. That's my job. That's what I do. But I want you to feel what I'm saying. Because I feel like sometimes feeling it just goes so much further than just reading it in a post. So when they cook food, first of all, there is no one meal. It's what she cooks for herself. And then he can cook for himself, but he has to cook off-site. And he cannot use anything from her refrigerator. And he cannot go into the garden and glean from the garden. And I'm going to ask you one more time. And I know I'm not talking about the whore, not even the whore church, because she does not care. Unlike some of y'all, I'm not naive. I can deal. But what's frustrating is when someone tries to make my dealing like, no, that's not, no, like I'm dealing. Okay. And can you please refrain, whore church, from interrupting that process? Because what she wants is she wants us to experience these things while she does not do anything that Jesus does, by the way. But she does not want to acknowledge or really minister to it, because then she would have to, because that's what Jesus did. Because that's not who she is. That's not who she is. I will remind you again, she is a group of individuals. And yes, it's going to be a hard truth. But she is a group of individuals working in unison, in unity. They are married to the dragon. And the dragon wants us to experience these things. Wants the husband to continue on in the so-called marriage. And it's not a marriage. It's a lie. It is a lie. Hey, chill. Not that funny. What it is a lie. But that is what the whore church wants us to live, is be living in a lie. So it would appear that I wonder if this is actually we're still recording. I don't know. I just hope it is. So from the 2020 virus, from the war between Russia and Zelensky, then we have the Israeli war, okay, between Israel and Palestine. And then that jumped off, and they all three are connected. It appears that they're all three connected. It's jumping from one thing to the other. And these inadequate prophets and prophetesses that y'all that are being offered to the populace, right? They're not adequate. I don't believe the Lord sent them. Nonetheless, like, they are not addressing either. Okay, it's one of two things, or it could be a combination of things. No. Okay. What it looks like is, anyway, what looks to be your inadequate clergy, okay? Not addressing the root of the issue, which is this tormenting spirit, because it requires blood and it requires human sacrifice. And the thing about it is, are we not losing if we are agreeing to do that? And I would say, no, duh. Like, of course we're losing. Humanity is losing and the church is losing. That fits into what the Bible prophesied. However, if we are indeed in the time of the apocalypse or whatever, or even like a pre-apocalypse, for example, because I think one of the greatest ways that the church can be undermined, the remnant, I'm going to start saying the remnant. One of the greatest ways the remnant could be undermined is for no one to acknowledge that we are in the state that we're in. Because if no one does that, you will not approach a situation with the fervor required if the situation is undermined. But if the situation is declared, you will go ahead and do it. And I believe it is a spirit. I believe it's possibly, and remember, I'm saying believing because I'm actually honest on here, to many, itching ears dismay, right? Because they want everything to be a prophecy, whether it is or not. That's just what they want to hear. And revival. And you're not going to get fake here. Sorry. Okay. You're going to have to go to your regular source in order to get the fake that you're looking for. Okay. Because you're not going to find it here. But anyway, so the inadequate clergy, we are not able. It's not that we're not able, but we're not going to as speedily attack and address head on something when it is being denied that it is inexistent. For example, I believe that it's a possible lying spirit. After all, of course it's a lying spirit. I shouldn't even say I should. I'm remiss in saying I believe, because that's kind of naive and a little cowardly. So I'll back off of that. The dragon is the devil. So it is a lying spirit. It's certainly not the dragon is not the spirit of truth. Neither is his whore, the church whore that is married to, that is helping him. I hope you didn't think that the church is his resistance. No, the saints are the resistance. The church is his helpmeet. Okay? At least until he gets his foot in the ground, like really, really established. And then he'll probably found some way to do away with her, But nonetheless, a lying spirit can be anything from not giving credit where credit is due, which can be very dangerous. So if you move in such a way if one were to move in such a way that they craftily withhold credit where credit is due, like a hidden figure or something, I sure hope to God, and I know one person, if only one person hears it and adheres, then I have done my life's work. Amen. Because I sure have been faithful to tell the truth, whether people have been faithful to hear it or not. That's not on me. That's on the hearer. But I've been faithful to say it. But I sure hope to God that was Jesus. And why do I say that? Because as prophets and prophetesses in the Bible, especially in a time of warfare, have sometimes been crafty in what they have done, but it was always signed off and authorized by God himself. I sure hope that there was no misfirings in the church, because if it was, that is a woe unto them. Because let me tell you something. It is a lying spirit that could possibly be in the midst of that. And unlike what she would like you to believe, you don't invite or play with any spirit. That includes the lying spirit. Because it is like people underestimate the effect of hanging out with things that are unclean, and you're doing it by choice and free will, because it is seductive. Why? Because why would God say, do not withhold honor to whom honor is due? It wouldn't make sense for him to say that if the alternative was not that I am tempted, I'm seduced by a lying spirit. I want to live a lie. I don't want to believe that I have to give you honor. So therefore, I would withhold it. That is the alternative. God doesn't waste his breath or his words. Why would he tell you us to do something if we're already going to do it by default? Like, oh, so that lying spirit that wants to, it's going to be like, do withhold honor from whom it is due. And matter of fact, I want you to withhold honor where it's due and hide it. And I want you to admire and honor that which is absolutely detestable and abominable in your midst. And who shall resist that request when it has legal right and authority? Because God said, don't do this. And the church whore said, I absolutely will do as I please. And if I want to withhold honor from where honor is absolutely due, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And this lying entity, this lying spirit, if I'm right, it's all a theory, y'all. It is what is behind the move to war, but the lack of declaration, possibly. And it will, because the Bible, the word, God is not slack for whatsoever. God is not mocked. Whatsoever man sows, that is what he shall also reap. So if you want to move, if you love a lie and you forsake giving honor, I said, give honor to whom it is due. And you said no. And then now, okay, have a situation in which all of these bizarre things are taking place in our faces. It's not where people will die. It's not if people will die. It's where. Because your whore church is inadequate. God did not send them. So instead of healing the sick, instead of comforting with the power of the Holy Spirit, instead of casting out devils, she is telling you none of this is happening. She is telling you we ain't in the apocalypse. We're not in the latter times. Everything is normal. You need to calm down. That's her job. Because she lies. Because the dragon is a liar. And going into war is a undermining of the truth when you don't declare it. So you're living the consequences of war. You're experiencing the consequences of war. But you are not even given the human right to say, I am officially at war. Because a lying spirit is ruling over you. And it doesn't even see you as worthy of a formal declaration of anything. And it will not stop there. My goodness. I will not be surprised if it continues to deteriorate where you can't get marriage license, you can't get birth certificates at some point. It would not surprise me. I don't necessarily see that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Why? Because it's a way to humiliate you. It's a way to denigrate the truth. I was born. I am married. And one way to spit on the truth is to not acknowledge it. And how long will this whore completely ignore, deny, and spit on the truth? And y'all, how long you think y'all God is going to allow this and not allow it to go further? Because if he's the type, is God not historically the type that if you just want to live in a world where everything is a lie, he will not let you do it? So now we have what? Successive endless wars, but none of them are official. Nothing is official. The marriages are not official. I mean, who are you to think you deserve a certificate? The births of babies are not official. I mean, okay, what? Like, okay, so we know that the child was born. My goodness, look over here. Okay, so see, look. The child has this number, okay? So that's how you can know it was born, all right? Goodness. And you think, and y'all, I know some of you listening to me, like I'm crazy, and it could never happen. Nobody could be that disrespectful. The whole society could never deteriorate where nothing is beyond someone being grotesquely disrespectful. The system not understanding, I do believe it's important that it be officialized that I'm married. And if someone look at you dead in your eyes and they're dead serious, like, well, you know you married, don't you? And they mean it. And you will not walk out the building with a piece of paper. And I'm trying to tell you, if I'm right, because I might not be right. These could be the musings of someone who is wrong. But if I'm right, that's way worse. If I were you, I would pray I'm wrong. The implications of me being right, because I talk about a lot of serious stuff. So unlike some people who, if they're wrong, that's a bad day. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, it's an amazing life. If I'm right, it's a difficult one. So hopefully, for y'all's sake, for everyone's sake, I'm wrong. But nonetheless, from that, now we're in this war. And this war, because it's jumping from, and that's not, Jesus didn't say, and you want to go deeper? No, really? Or are you scared? Because if you're not scared, I'm not scared. Okay, well, let's do this then. Jesus wasn't going around swapping devils. He was casting them out. He was sending them back to from whence they came. Matter of fact, they was evicted and they didn't know where they were going to go. But you know what he was not doing, that your inadequate church is doing, because they're just jumping from one place to the other. And your inadequate clergy is helping them. They're working for the devil in your face. They're sacrificing entire groups of people. This is what the whore is doing. She's doing what she's always done. And many times, yes, she's speaking in tongues and she's wearing a cross around her neck. Have you not noticed? Just because Jezebel is in a new persona, please do not fail to identify her when you see her. Because this is what she's doing. She's just packaged differently. So she's offering up these men and women who are Christ adjacent, right? These men and women who are Christ affiliated, okay? Christianity affiliated. They are offering up entire nations as fodder. They're not casting anything out. They're swapping. That should tell you right now, either God did not send them or they are outright working for Satan in the congregations of the land. In your face. They're swapping they're swapping one nation for another nation. And God did not tell us to make deals with Satan. Perhaps it's because of the works. I've seen, I remember sometime where it seemed to be, if I'm right, I may not be, seemed to be that anytime there was a lull in deaths, I don't know if you've noticed, I don't even know if it's really truly connected, but people stop dying so much. People stop bleeding so much, y'all. And I'm going to say it. Who wants me to keep on talking? People stop dying so much. People stop bleeding so much. And it was a lull in that. And I remember these horrible storms came about. I mean, it was worse than a horror movie. And I bet you they didn't report it. They treated it as if they never even happened. And they happened over in the airs and skies of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital of the United States of America. And the news never touched it. You couldn't pay them to put their hands on that. It was supernatural. Electric, not rain. Electricity was falling from the sky as the blood waned. Y'all, as the deaths, as people stopped dying so much. And I'm trying to tell you something. If this is only for the brave, though. This is only for the brave. And the whore church found somebody to die. Jesus didn't tell. He didn't tell the saints to swap people. He came and cast the devils out. I'm trying to tell you, they're doing it in your face. To your face. If we were to all have been electrocuted. Now, who want me to keep on talking? It would have been better than to make deals with Beelzebub, the prince of darkness. Because anyone who knows God and standing 10 toes down on righteousness would automatically go to heaven. Do not be conditioned to falter, because that is what these clergymen are doing to you. They are teaching you how to cower in the face of the enemy. They are doing you a grave disservice. They are not serving you. They are inadequate. They're not sent. They're not chosen. They are not called. They're not anointed. God does not want you to become proficient in cowering. We can do that naturally. I was tripping when this happened. I started praying. And guess what? Guess what rose up? Guess what rose up? Not in me, in the church. These, how could they know? And how could it be all interconnected if it's not demons? Familiar spirits. Pride rose up. The whore wanted to prove her power. I'm calling on God. Lord, help us. Lord, forgive us. Help us. Pride rose up. We've got this. The church. This is Jezebel preaching. The church can do anything. Let's go to war with these people over here. False piety. One is true piety. I ain't never swapped not one single soul. Started not one single war. But crying out to God, she detests it. You are being taught by clergy that have a spirit of pride. And that spirit was the spirit that was dealing with Beelzebub when he was kicked out of heaven. Y'all, look. Y'all, if you take the time to think, you will see how dangerous the situation is. But of course, she was never going to tell you. Why would Jezebel say, hey, I'm Jezebel, sitting on the choir? I'm Jezebel, preacher's wife. I'm Jezebel, the prophetess, doing signs and wonders, standing up on my head, preaching, casting out devils, supposedly. All that good stuff. I'm Jezebel. I am a very convincing Jezebel. It's the elect people. God said the elect, if it wasn't for him, the elect would, the hours weren't shortened, the elect would be deceived. And people, they always over assume how smart they are. Like most people, like God is somehow just a really smart one of us. And so most of us are so smart. And like, that means that only a sprinkle of people, if he had not shortened the hour, only a sprinkle of people, and that's actually what it seems like is happening. Only a sprinkle of people, if it not for me to connect the dots. And it continues on. Right? I'm a spoiler, but not for the devil. I'm a spoiler for God. I go out there and spoil the plans of the enemy before he can do them. And yet he's still so successful, which is so frustrating for me. Because when you live in a world with idiots, there's only so much even the best watcher can do. When they tell you what is happening and what's going to happen before it does. But still much spoiling has been. He oftentimes, just because the tea has been spilled, he has now, it's not as much impact. Too many people know. Now, is still impact though, because like I said, the whore does not care. The church whore does not care. She does not care. As long as it's her not dying and she can appear, remember, self-pious. I posted about it. You need to listen to, you pray about it, okay? I don't lead you. She's a power freak, not me, okay? But if you feel it can bless you, you definitely might want to listen to it, false piety. As long as she can appear a certain way before the eyes of men and in her own eyes, as long as these men and women can do that are adjacent, married to the dragon, I've been considering what the church's role would be, because they're really not they're not in depth discussed in the scriptures, and it's becoming quite apparent to me that they are. It's just that you have to read for understanding and clarity. It says very plainly what the evil will do and what the saints will do. But the trick here is this, that you have to have discernment, because it seems as though, but unfortunately, the modern church, for the large part, is not the saints. The saints are the saints. So they fall into the category, for those who discern, of the evil ones. So everything, I suppose, that the saints will not be doing, the evil ones who are in the churches, who are married to the dragon and working on his behalf and choosing and picking souls, perhaps even like Charlie Kirk. We don't know. He was probably one of their own. Then it's so bizarre. A book prophesied his death. And then the church, go figure, the whore church discovered it. Then the whore church had it taken down, only for the whore church, okay, to so-called grieve off his death. And honestly, I'm quite convinced that I don't know where Candace Owens falls in that. Quite frankly, if she's remnant or unfortunately part of the whore church. But I will say this. She seems to be one of the only people who truly, genuinely mourned the death of Charlie Kirk. I'm suspicious about practically everybody else. She seems to be the only one that has a normal, true human grief of someone. I lost someone that I genuinely cared about, and I'm taking this personally. Everybody else comes across as the whore church who orchestrated it. Meanwhile, once again, folks, and then, mind you, I said this, and I know it touched on nerves. I know this is controversial. People are having children. I have children. People are having babies, etc., etc. Let's not hide from stuff because it's difficult. The babies look like they're being born into this. And I said, my posts are potent. With me, because I talk about such serious things, here's the thing. The jester and the whore church, they don't take anything seriously. Because that's what the devil does. And that is one reason why a lying spirit, it says, give honor where honor is due. So, for example, if something of great importance comes before you, treat it with that level of care. But if something trifling comes before you, like a cotton ball, do you have to talk to, acknowledge, or even change your schedule because a ball of cotton has been sat in front of you? Not if you're in your right mind. It's a ball of cotton. It's not even sentient. But if the things I'm posting, broaching, and talking about, and the very serious implications thereof, it would behoove all peoples of all nations to at least say, you know what, to check in with the Lord and say, whoa, to check in. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm not exactly talking about the tea party I had yesterday. So we must have some formality, for it is a part of not having a lying spirit. For example, I am at war with you. For example, Houston, we do have a problem. We are married. This baby has been born. I do live here. Imagine. The Lord gives a lying whore people over to the lying spirit that they have been seduced by, where no man wants to give honor to nobody else and no woman wants to give honor to nobody else, no matter how much the child does not want to say yes ma'am, no ma'am. The preacher, the people don't want to say yes preacher. I don't have to call him. We're all children of God. Spirit of pride everywhere. Just oozing with spirits of pride and rebellion. For was it not God? Was it man or God that said, give honor where honor is due? You honor a mother by giving her a piece of paper that says, hey, You just had this baby. You honor a death by giving the family a piece of paper that says, hey, your loved one died on this day at this time. You honor a person that's renting by giving them a piece of paper saying you in fact have a right to live here under these terms. Do you not? But what if a lying people being preached to by a lying clergy who spit on that verse because they think it is very minute and they can just skip over it. It's inconvenient. It's, by the way, we're American and it's 2025. And if I want to sit in the pastor's chair, I can totally do that. If my child wants to call his teacher by her first name, just a disrespectful people. Just for the sake of it. And you wake up and you pretend. They pretend like they don't know how we got here when people like me don't spit in my face continually. Have been diligent to say, oh, I know how we got here. Why they don't want to give you nothing. And the Lord may let them. And guess what? That's not to say that the Lord will not back people who are his own. Even if they do that, the Lord know how to take care of his people who ain't hurt nobody. Even if they do that, let those who need to worry. The Lord know how to take care of his people. If they don't give the remnant a lease, that don't mean that the remnant will lose one day of sleep. But nonetheless, it would not surprise me in a world, in a populace that is so disrespectful, that completely hates that scripture and don't care what it says. And you frustrated the honor of many. The teachers quitting because the children are so disrespectful. It hurts. Vice versa. The teaching staff so everybody. It's possibly a spirit. I just said so disrespectful. It is so disrespectful for CPS or somebody come in and tell you that your child was supposed to be another sex, and you either get over it or we'll do it by force. That is so disrespectful. But did they not do exactly that? It is, see, you can't rebel and not experience the consequences when you invite the spirit of a lie. Because are you not the parent? Are you not the person who has the power of majority over this child? But I thought you don't mind a lie. So the lie is you're not. I don't have to honor you as parent. I'm a governmental entity. I do not have to give honor where honor is due. And in a land like that, it bites. For God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, he is sure to reap. The only thing is, our mind ain't big enough. Because that bites in ways that you didn't see coming. But people want to still play. They still want to play. And you know what even the world says when you play foolish games, right? You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And I will not worry. I will not worry. And neither should you. The remnant should not at all worry. For God will honor your marriage. Now, please, I'm not saying please don't get make everything legal. Okay? We don't need the remnant being accidental whores out here. But if ever if ever they were to deny everybody, because God can't be mocked. In a land that wants to invite a lying spirit, because God said, give honor where honor is due. Acknowledge reality. In a land that shakes its fist at that, in a church that serves the dragon and hates the truth, his words will not fall to the ground. And if so, if they ever give some advice, but I don't think that this is anywhere close, but if ever that happens, the Lord will surely make a way. We must separate ourselves forever. Now, I don't see that as my problem. I'm not trying to get married, but the Lord will surely give the remnant an alternative, because what we must never be is like the world. So we would have to find another way to be married, because we must be married. So whether they marry us or they refuse to marry us and we find a formal, official way to marry ourselves. But nonetheless, God will make a way for his. He surely will. Okay? But don't be surprised. So no, I don't support. I don't. Let me try to upload this, because it'd be a miracle if I can. Because it's so long. Bye, y'all. I think, okay, everything with the wars. I think it didn't have to be this long, y'all. It didn't, but we know I struggle with eloquence, okay? Kind of like Moses, but I'm not as great as Moses. I struggle with eloquence. It could have been significantly shorter, but that's my struggle. I'm not terribly eloquent, so it takes me a while to try to express what I'm trying to say. But I feel as though I have succeeded. It took me a long time, but I feel as though I finally succeeded and say what I wanted to say. That the modern church sits as a crown on the head of the dragon. They are one. You have individual ministries and individual people and individual ministers and clergymen that are indeed the remnant. Okay? As well as individual Christians. But as a whole, it is not to be seen in this day, because that is not how they're functioning. And I'm gathering evidence, and the more evidence I gather, it does not lend itself that the whole is operating on behalf of Christ. It is gathering the opposite information. It is coming to the opposite conclusion. I must be real with you. So it is very dangerous. That's why I'm on here making this video. It's very dangerous for you to go into these spaces telling all your business and all that stuff, because I gave the example of Eli. God did not show up because of Eli nor his sons. God showed up for Hannah and perhaps anybody else that was honestly seeking him. For where else were they going to go? And if that is you, you still don't want to be introducing your daughters to the sons of Eli. And you don't want to pour all of your heart out on everything to Eli when his ministry is under judgment. And you can't assume. And the first thing that they do, I'm trying to tell you, the first thing that the whore church does, she points to her signs and miracles. Well, there go a sign and miracle right there for you. How many more ways must I say it, beloveds? I'm trying to warn you about where you are. If it is not the apocalypse, it is apocalyptical. It is to that level. Please pray, of course, as the Lord leads you. And I promise he will not lead you into compromising with these devils. For the Venezuelans, I'm gonna say it. Jesus does not want the blood of the Venezuelans. The devil does. That is not a suitable sacrifice. It's actually blasphemous. Because the only sacrifice that was suitable was already made. and God will not have it spat upon by the feeble attempts of the flesh of men or even demons in this hour. The demons want it. And God does not want his humankind terrorized, especially when they've done nothing wrong. There's no provocation, and that's a bad, bad example. The spirit of domination and terror is a apocalyptical demonic spirit. And the whore church loves it because she loves what she can do with it and play with it like a toy and even oppress some of her so-called own people. You need to disassociate yourself from the entity as a whole and associate yourself with Christ and with the remnant as a whole, acknowledging and knowing and accepting that many of them you will never meet in this lifetime. And perhaps maybe not many of them are even in your church where you attend now. And that is okay. You can still love people while realizing that many of them are working for Satan. The two do not have to be exclusive to one another. Please understand that if that is your situation, you're not going to be preached to adequately in regards to the last days. But you can enjoy, like Hannah, blessings, and you can enjoy fellowship. It will be limited. It will not be genuine on their part, but you can. Until at least maybe you find a better place, maybe you won't. But nonetheless, you need to disassociate yourself from the entity and associate yourself to Jesus first and to all who are the remnant, realizing, like I said again, many of them you will not meet in this lifetime. Many of them may not even be where you are worshiping. And do not expect adequate ministry from an entity that has limits on what it can preach on because of a tax issue. And do not do that in a situation where you have been told, woe unto you. For many ministers and people in general, people, the populace who claim to be Christian, I can find no evidence. And ministers are not, they're seeming to not, they're jumping this tormenting for the United States to, it seems, demonically plant itself, demonically it seems. And the whore church will tell you that this is of Jesus. And that is sad. For the United States church to seemingly to demonically place herself in a threatening, domineering situation where the man who God loves him some people without provocation. Please, it would be different if it was. Let's please listen with understanding. It'd be different if it was without any provocation. Puts a whole entire populace in a place of torment. Please, remnant, we have to be intellectually genuine. That is demonic. Who torments someone with no provocation? The tormenting spirit is not the Holy Spirit. So it has to be another spirit. What spirit is that? It's the tormentor. It is demons. The United States seems to be, the whore church of the United States seems to be sending demons to Russia, sending demons to Israel, sending demons to Russia, sending them to Israel, sending them, dispersing demons. God said cast demons out. He didn't say send demons on missions. And the church has been calling them angels. This whore has been calling them angels. And she's right. Except this hoe is lying because she's not telling the whole truth. They're fallen angels. All right, bye.